Nadia Reyes was not the kind of woman who asked for much. She asked for honesty. She asked for consistency. She asked for a man who meant what he said when the lights were off and no one was watching. For 4 years, she believed Marcus Holt was that man. She cooked for him on Sunday evenings. She stayed up late helping him prepare for job interviews. She celebrated his promotions as if they were her own. She loved him the way quiet people love, completely, without announcement, without needing anyone to see it. She was 28 years old. She worked as a financial analyst at a mid-sized consulting firm. Her apartment was small but clean, her wardrobe simple, her laugh the kind that made strangers look up from across a room. She did not come from money. She came from a family that taught her to work for what she wanted, and to hold on to people who were worth holding. Marcus was worth holding. Or so she believed. The first sign came in the small things, the way it always does. He started holding his phone differently, slightly angled away when she entered a room. He started sleeping with his back toward her. He started saying, "I'm tired," the way people say it when they mean something else entirely. Nadia noticed all of it. She told herself she was being too sensitive. She had a conversation with herself every morning in the bathroom mirror, talking herself out of what she already knew. Her sister Sophia noticed too. Sophia was older, sharper, and had no patience for self-deception. "Something is wrong with that man," Sophia told her over coffee one afternoon. "He's just been stressed with work," Nadia said. Sophia looked at her the way older sisters do when they decide not to push. Not because they agree, but because they know the lesson has to come on its own. The lesson came on a Tuesday. Nadia was at work, taking a short break, scrolling through her phone with one hand and holding a cup of tea with the other. She was not looking for anything. She was not suspicious in that moment. She happened to see a post from an account she barely followed. Someone from a charity event Marcus had attended months ago. The post was a photograph. A rooftop dinner somewhere warm, candles on the table, the sky behind them deep orange and gold. Marcus was in the photograph. His hand was on the waist of a young woman in a white dress. His smile was relaxed in a way Nadia had not seen in months. The woman in the white dress was Camille Voss, 27 years old, daughter of Raymond Voss, one of the wealthiest men in the country. Her face was the kind that appeared in magazines without trying. Her smile in the photograph was aimed at the camera with total confidence, the smile of someone who has never once worried about being enough. The caption under the photograph said, "He found his way to where he belongs." Nadia set her tea down. She read the caption again. She looked at Marcus's hand on Camille's waist. She looked at his smile. She put her phone face down on her desk and sat very still for a long time. She did not cry at work. She waited until she got home. Marcus arrived at the apartment 2 hours after she did. He walked in, and one look at her face told him that she already knew. He did not try to deny it. Instead, he did something she had not expected, he explained, calmly, clearly, as though he were delivering a report to a client rather than ending 4 years of someone's life. He told her that Camille's world was something he could not walk away from. The dinners, the connections, the family name, the future that kind of wealth could build. He told Nadia that he cared about her, but that life had offered him something bigger than what they had together, and he would not be honest with himself, or with her, if he turned it down. He used the word honest while standing in the home of the woman he had been lying to for 6 months. He packed a bag that night. He took his watch, his suits, and, something Nadia would not notice until 2 days later, the framed photograph of the two of them taken at the coast 3 summers ago. He took it from the wall. She did not understand why. Maybe he needed to believe the story he was telling himself, that what they had was already over before he left. Maybe taking the photograph was the only way to make that feel true. The nail on the wall stayed. She looked at it every morning. Nadia did not disappear after he left. She did not stop getting up. She did not stop going to work. She went through the first 2 weeks in a kind of quiet shock, the way a person walks through a house after the power goes out. Carefully, using memory instead of light. But she kept moving. What she did not do was perform her sadness for anyone. She did not post anything. She did not call Marcus. She did not reach out to mutual friends to explain her side of things. She understood, without being told, that the people who loved her would stay, and the people who left were already gone. 3 months after Marcus walked out, A lifestyle magazine ran a feature on him and Camille. The headline called them a power couple. There was a full-page photograph. Camille in silk, Marcus in a suit that cost more than Nadia's monthly rent. He looked like a man who had arrived somewhere. Nadia saw the magazine in a waiting room by accident. She turned it face down without finishing the article. What the magazine did not mention, what Marcus himself did not fully know, was that Raymond Voss, Camille's father, had conducted a quiet background review the moment his daughter brought Marcus home. Raymond Voss had not built his empire by being careless with trust. He asked questions in private. He listened to the answers, and what he learned about Marcus Holt was simple. This was a man who had left a loyal woman the moment something shinier appeared. A man like that, Raymond understood, was not a man who stops. He said nothing to Camille. He filed the information away and waited. Nadia, meanwhile, had gone back to being herself, fully, without apology. She worked. She had dinner with Sophia. She read the books she had been putting off. She started sleeping in the middle of her bed instead of on her side, and the first morning she woke up like that, she lay still for a moment and noticed something unexpected. The room felt like hers again. She was not healed, but she was hers again, and that was enough to keep going. The event where she met Dominic Carrera was not something she had looked forward to. It was a corporate reception, the kind of enormous, glittering gathering where everyone circulated with champagne and said important-sounding things that meant very little. Her firm had sent her as a representative. She wore a navy dress, kept to herself, and spent most of the first hour reviewing notes on her phone near a side window. She did not notice the man who sat down near her at the edge of a small table until he spoke. He said, simply, "You look like the only person here who's actually thinking." She looked up. He was in his early 40s, with a calm about him that did not match the energy of the room. Not cold, calm, like a man who had nothing to prove and had known that for a long time. He introduced himself as Dominic. He did not offer a last name right away. He asked what she was reading. She told him the truth, that it was a risk analysis she had written that morning and was still unhappy with. He asked why. She explained the gap between what the numbers said and what she believed the actual exposure was. He listened to her, not the way people listen at events like that, waiting for a pause to speak, but actually listened, following the argument, asking a specific question at exactly the right moment. They talked for 40 minutes. When someone approached and addressed him as Don Carrera, using the name before catching themselves, Nadia understood who she had been sitting with. Dominic Carrera. She had read that name in financial news, in business journals, in one article that described him as someone who operated at the edge of several powerful industries, without ever sitting still long enough to be categorized. He was known for turning failing businesses into something formidable. He was known for being a man whose decisions, once made, did not reverse. He was known for almost never attending events like this one. Before he stood to leave, he asked if she would have dinner with him. He asked it without charm, without performance, just a direct question with genuine patience for whatever answer she gave. She said yes. What followed was not fast. Dominic Carrera was not a fast man. He took her to dinner at quiet restaurants with good food and no noise. He showed up exactly on time. He did not send extravagant gifts. He remembered everything. The author she mentioned once in passing, the street she grew up on, the fact that she liked her coffee with no sugar. He listened as though the details of her life were information worth keeping. At their third dinner, Nadia looked at him across the table and told him plainly that she was not interested in being anyone's distraction. She had just come out of a relationship where she had been used as a foundation, while someone else built towards something better. She was not willing to play that role again for anyone, regardless of who they were. Dominic looked at her without blinking and said, "I'm not looking for a foundation. I've already built what I need to build. I'm looking for someone to sit across from at the end of the day who doesn't make me feel like I'm performing." She believed him, not immediately, but gradually, the way you believe something when the evidence keeps showing up without being asked. When photographs of them together began to appear, not arranged, simply caught at events and dinners, the reaction was swift. In Dominic's world, Nadia was unknown. In her old world, she was a surprise. Marcus Holt saw the photographs. He said nothing publicly. Camille showed them to her father. Raymond Voss studied the photographs for a moment. Then he told his daughter, "That man does not make choices by accident." Camille did not fully understand what her father meant. She would understand later. The Voss Capital Annual Gala was the most attended event in their social world, a gathering of old money, new influence, and everyone in between. It was held in a grand hall with high ceilings and long tables, the kind of room that made ordinary people feel small on purpose. Camille's family hosted it every year. The guest list was curated carefully. Nadia attended as Dominic's companion. She wore deep burgundy. She did not know what the evening held. Marcus was there with Camille. They were seated near the front. Nadia saw him when she walked in. He saw her. Neither of them spoke. Midway through the evening, without warning, Dominic stood. He did not need a microphone. The room noticed him the way rooms notice people who carry real weight, not because of noise, but because of the particular stillness they bring with them when they stop moving. He spoke briefly and without theatrics. He said he had spent a long time believing that a complete life was something built alone, and that he had been wrong about that. He said he had met a woman who had shown him the difference between being impressive and being real, and that he had not been looking for her when she appeared, which was the only reason he was certain she was right. He said her name. Then he turned to Nadia, who had gone very still in her chair, and he asked her, in front of Raymond Voss, in front of Camille, in front of Marcus Holt, and every person in that room, to be his wife. 3 seconds passed. Nadia looked at him. She thought of the nail on the wall. She thought of the face-down magazine. She thought of every morning she had gotten up and chosen herself when everything in her wanted to stay down. She said yes. The room responded the way rooms do when something real happens, in a place built for performance, with a moment of genuine silence before the noise. The photographs were everywhere by morning. Not the photographs of Dominic, those always appeared. The photographs of Nadia, a woman no one had thought to watch, a woman who had been quietly living her life in the gap between the story everyone expected and the one that was actually being written. Marcus Holt did not comment. His silence was noted by people who knew him. Camille said nothing publicly. What her father said to her in private was never reported, but in the months that followed, Raymond Voss ended his business arrangements with Marcus without public explanation. The opportunities that had been opening, the introductions, the invitations, the quiet mentions of his name in the right rooms, stopped. Not dramatically, just completely. The foundation Marcus had traded everything for turned out to have limits he had not calculated. Sophia Reyes attended the engagement dinner and cried at the table in the middle of the main course. She was not embarrassed by this. She raised her glass and said simply, "I told you so." And everyone laughed, including Nadia. When a journalist later asked Nadia how she would describe the last 2 years of her life, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I stopped holding on to someone who was already walking away. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the moment everything began." She did not mention Marcus by name. She did not need to. Some endings are quiet. Some lessons arrive without noise. Some women do not get their moment in a dramatic confrontation or a loud public statement. They get something better. They get a Tuesday morning where they wake up and the room